Hello guys, have you ever thought that how you can store your data inside your iOS phone application, or how you can save the complete things inside your complete application just like a database? So, and what is a database inside iOS? So today I'm going to explain you the answers of all these questions. Hello guys, I am Ayush from CodesRoom. I'm going to train you today the Core Data Basics Part 1. Guys, as you know that the very first step which we have to do is we have to open the Xcode. We have to go onto the file option. We have to go to the new. We have to go to the project. Once we have to go to the project, we have to select the single view application. Type the name of the application just as core data part 1 CodesRoom. Just a note, I'm cancelling this one just to show you that you have to select all these complete three things right now. You can just click on next. You can click on create. You can just copy one piece of code from here and I explain you what this piece of code means actually. You can just comment this particular function and you you have to just go on to app.delegate.h file and you have to create ns-manage object. You have to create it like this. You have to create a strong with non-atomic manage object context. With the name, you define it here. Just copied it and paste it 2 times. Next, you created an object of model. Don't worry, I'll explain every bit of it, that what is uh, ns manage object context, what is ns manage object data model. You don't have to worry about that. And the last is the persistent store coordinator. Once I've implemented all this part, I'll explain you that what all this mean actually. So what we have done is we have to select one more thing, and we have to land to our app.delegate.m and we have pasted this particular piece of code. Now guys, we are ready that our functions, that what particular this means, this and this means, right? Before continuing to the core data, I'll like to explain you that what is core data first. So guys, let me explain that if you are handling any object, then you use core data. Core data is not a database, but it is a part of a database. You can just implement the functionality of core data which behaves as a as a database. I'm repeating it once again that core data is not a database, right? Core data is like that you are managing or performing any operations on an object. For that particular thing, you use core data. Onto another note, we cannot call it as a database, right? So the figure or the image which you are seeing onto your screen right now, let me explain you this. So guys, persistent store coordinator, what it means, manage object context as manage object model, what it means. So guys, this particular image, you can just understand it as that this particular thing is your complete pool where your complete data will be saved inside, right? You can just note that the very first point will be like the persistent store coordinator. What does this particular thing means? Persistent store coordinator means that the particular coordinator who will be handling all the complete task, let's say the save functionality or the deletion functionality or the editing functionality, even any particular thing which is coordinating all the activities inside your database will be done by the persistent store coordinator. Onto the real world scenario, you can just imagine it as, let's say you have a class, a kind of in your school you have a class, and every class has a monitor. So what monitor does is that particular class monitor that coordinates with every particular object or kind of a student so that everything goes in a well direction. So let's say when a teacher comes into a classroom, he directs the student to just stand up, to submit their copies, to do the particular homeworks. So he is the one particular person who is responsible so that everything is coordinated well. So into the similar functionality, into the similar way, persistent store coordinator, what it does is it coordinates all the activities which are performed on inside the complete database. In core data, you have to understand that we are using the SQLite file inside for saving any particular data, updating, editing, or any other operation which is performed inside a database. It is done in a SQLite file. Now, till now you have understood that what is persistent store coordinator, right? Now it's time to know that what is manage object context. Guys, as you all know that when we perform any of the operation, it is always required to create temporary memory so that our operations are more flexible, more kind of fast, so that we have a kind of a dynamic access or a fast access to our database. It is always required. On to the real world scenario, what you can imagine is, let's say you have a computer system, right? And inside your computer system system you have your secondary memory and you have the primary memory. So everything comes inside, let's say, a hard disk. So everything is not saved directly into your hard disk. It is a kind of a RAM too, which actually a kind of a, you can understand it as a cache memory which speeds up your process. So a temporary memory which speeds up your process is kind of managed with a kind of thing which is by the name of manage object context. So what manage object context means, that it creates a temporary memory and it performs all the operations, let's say saving the data, deleting the data, fetching the data. All the operations are being performed by manage object context to do all these things. So now you know about persistent store coordinator, you know about manage object context, and now it's time to just let you know that what is manage object model. Guys, it is very important to know that what is the reference or what is the location where my database file will be located, right? So in order to access that file, it is always required to know the path where my file is actually located. So this particular thing is being managed by the data model, manage object data model. So now guys, it is time for us to go through the particular thing which we just copied and just let you know. The very first part is like that into this particular application we will be saving two particular things. One will be the username and second will be the password. So the very first thing which you have to do is you have to go to core data part 1 codes. It is by the name of XC data model class. You have to go to the add entity button. You have to just click on it. You can just see that a entity name will be just right here. You can just edit it and you can write, let's say, contacts. You can just click onto the plus button and you can just name it as the entity name. So let's say what you will be saving inside your database by for which key. So let's say you are saving the name and password. So name will be the attribute and string will be its type, right? Now I type it as address or password and I defined it as a string. Now guys, it's time for us to go to the part which we copied from the particular file. Now now you know that what is manage object context, manage object model and persistent store coordinator. So what this particular function means is the very first function, the manage object context, that it is just allocating the object context from the memory, and this is the model URL. So this is the SQLite file which will be created inside my complete program. When my application will launch, it will be by the name of core data part 1 CodesRoom. Do note that this name should be the exact same as of this one, right? So this your model URL will be storing the URL of the complete part where your SQLite file will be stored, and your NS manage object model will be holding that particular URL, right? And this will return your particular URL where your complete SQLite file will be saved. Now you can just see into this particular function that your persistent store coordinator will be doing all the changes inside this particular file. It should be the same as this one. Guys, now note that uh, as I told you that we have a kind of a temporary memory. So what you can understand it as that you should have a kind of a document directory where you are saving your complete data, so that let's say you are storing the complete data, so you want to know that where my complete files will be saved inside my application. So it is the document directory. So that is the reason for which we just created this particular function, so that we can access that file also. Now it's time for us to create, or for us to go to the main.storyboard, and let us create some kind of fields so that we can just save that particular data and show that how that data is being saved and fetched. Now let's select a text field and now just drag and drop a button. Let's name it as save. Let's place a placeholder so that it is understood that which particular field is used for what purpose. Now let's create an outlet of this particular fields and let's name it as text field username and text field password, right? Now let's create a touch up inside for a button. Now it's time to just let you know that what particular this piece of code means. Don't worry, you will just understand it that what this particular data means I'll explain you one by one. So guys, let's head over to viewController.h and let's create the object of app delegate. And let's create it by the name of app delegate. First, we have to import app delegate to this complete class. And now let's head over to .m file. Now it's time for us to create an object of NSManageObjectContext so that we can perform all the operation inside this class. So now let's head over to the .h file and let's create an object of NSManageObjectContext. Now guys, as you know that what this particular thing means, that it is refreshing that particular object which is an object of an app delegate class, and it is taking out the manage object context value which we have created and which we have got from this particular app delegate file. Do you remember that in appdelegate.m we created the particular methods in which we were getting the value of a ns manage object context? Now we are just getting this particular value from appdelegate.m so that we can just store that particular object of NSManageObject context inside a viewController.m. So in order to hold this object, what we have done is we created another object of NSManageObject context inside a viewController.h class, and this object, which is by the name of context, it is holding the value inside the viewController.m file inside the viewDidLoad function of the manage object context value which was actually created into the appdelegate.m file. Now what this particular thing means is that it means that for the very first thing you have to just understand is that entity is your table name, right? So whatsoever table name you are creating inside your core data or the XC data model, it is the name of your table, right? So you can have multiple entities. You can have contacts, you can have school administrator or kind of a library administrator which can store multiple values, and you can get particular values from inside that particular part. So this is what we have done is, now you have to just land over to the viewcontroller.m. So the very first thing is like that this particular line is telling you that it is creating a reference of the particular table name which you created inside your core data.xc data model class. So this is the particular object which holds the value by which your table name was created. So it starts with the ns entity description. Now what is the ns manage object is doing? It is just getting those all values by which your particular things will be saved. So let's say inside your manage object class we have the name and the password. So we will be storing this value for name and for password, right? So similarly, when we are just setting the particular value for particular name and password, we will be saving that particular value as well. Now you guys, it is time for you to just recall the particular statement which I just told you, that in order to perform any operation, in order to perform any particular operation inside your class, it was required for you. Do you remember this particular image? I told you that any operation which was performed on a kind of a persistent store coordinator, whether it is save, delete, or any particular functionality, it is done with an object of manage object context. Similarly, we are doing the same part over here, that we are saving the particular data with an object of context, and this is we created, we initialize this value over to this particular part. Till now, our data will be saved. Now let's run our application. The second part is that we have to get that particular data as well, which we saved inside our core data. Now, what NSFetch request means? NSFetch, which help us to get a particular data of all those data which are stored inside our complete database. So what we do is we create the NS entity description again, because we have to get the particular entity from where we have to get the particular data. So our entity name was contacts. As you can see that our entity name was contacts, and do note that all particular value which is being fetched, it is being fetched from the object of the complete NS manage object context. It is also fetching the particular values from a database, and all values which are being fetched from the database, they are stored inside a particular array which is by the name of result. Now what we do is we just we run a loop so that we can get particular value of all those value we just saved inside a particular database. So right now a simulator is launching. The main part which you have to understand it as, the very first thing is your NS entity description. The second part is the NS manage object and the particular object by which we are saving and doing all the operations, which is the NS manage object context. These three are the complete key parameters which is required for you to understand the core data. So let's say we write, there is one more thing which we just forgot. We have to just write, we have to just form the delegate of the text field so that it returns when we click onto the password field as well. As we have set the delegate of the text field, so we write the username as CodesRoom and password as codes, and we just click it on save. Now guys, it's time for you to just debug the particular part. Now we write the username as CodesRoom iOS class, and we write the password as password, and we click on save. Guys, do note, just have your eyes to this particular section. Till now our data is being saved by these particular lines, and now we are navigating to this particular function so that we can access all those particular data which is saved inside my database, and the target array is holding all those values. Now my target array has the name as CodesRoom, the password as codes, Now the second one was CodesRoom iOS class, and the password was password. So guys, this tutorial explains you the particular thing, which explains you the particular code data. So if you have any doubt, any particular query, you can just mail us at hello@codesroom.com, and don't forget to subscribe our channel, and thank you guys for watching my video. Have a nice day ahead.